Did you know the average person makes about 35,000 decisions every day? Some of this is routine, it's repetitive, it can have an impact, it can be strategic, tactical, operational, and definitely leadership. Now, here's a quote. Leadership decisions aren't just about what gets done, they're about who becomes what through the decision. Every choice shapes vision, people, culture, crisis response, and ultimately legacy. Leadership isn't about making decisions, it's about preserving your energy, clarity, and presence to make the right ones. And decision fatigue is real. I'm not making that up because I am dealing with that quite a bit here lately. When your mental battery is drained, even with the small choices, it feels heavy, and leaders risk either over delegating or making reactive, short sighted calls. And this can impact your personal and your professional life. So, here are 5 ways that leaders can avoid decision fatigue. One, automate the ordinary. Don't waste your executive brain power on trivialities. Streamline or delegate routine choices, things like meal prep, meeting cadence, what to wear, those standard approvals. Then you can prioritize decision tiers. Not all decisions deserve equal energy. And you know that this is true, but sometimes when we're caught in that hamster wheel or we're acting robotic, everything is pulling at us and you feel like everything requires your equal amount of energy. And this is the fastest way that you can definitely grow weary. So, tier 1, you consider that your critical tier. It's those decisions that are irreversible, they have high impact, and the leader needs to be the decision maker. Tier 2, those are important decisions, but they can be reversible. They have a team impact. And as the leader, you can guide those decisions, but you don't have to be the decision maker. And then there are tier 3 decisions, which are kind of low stakes. They're routine, they can be delegated or automated. And leaders burn out when they treat every choice like a tier 1 decision. So remember, bucket them into those 3 tiers to save yourself from becoming tired. 3, build default settings aligned with your values. When your values and your vision are clear, decisions become faster and less draining. Defaults can be we always lead with integrity, or we don't sacrifice well-being for deadlines, and that one is really important. Shrink the gray area and preserve your energy. 4, guard your golden hours. Your mental clarity is highest early in the day. At least it is for me. So I am more of a morning person. If there are critical decisions that need to be made, it is better for me if they're made, I would say, prior to 3 p.m. After 3 p.m., then I get a little tired. Things aren't necessarily clear. Sometimes I have to redo something or I have to rethink something because things were a little foggy because it's later in the afternoon. So for me, if it's a critical decision, if at all possible, let me make it before 3. Now I know we can't always, we're not always able to dictate the time that a decision needs to be made. But if you have a choice, make it when your mental clarity is highest. Try to push your administrative or low stakes choices to later in the day. This protects your boundaries like it's revenue, because it is. Your boundaries are revenue. And 5, create decision recovery rituals. Decision making is a muscle and it fatigues. Leaders need built-in recovery. Sometimes it's a 10-minute walk between your meetings, or it's a mindful pause before major choices, or it can be an end-of-day reflection to close the loop. Recovery restores clarity and prevents emotional leakage into the next decision. The bottom line, decision fatigue doesn't come from too many decisions. It comes from mismanaged energy around decisions. Leaders who automate, prioritize, and protect their mental bandwidth create room for clarity, courage, and purpose. Now, let's just go a little bit deeper when it relates to decisions and especially decision fatigue. I know sometimes, especially in my life, you are tasked with decisions that were unexpected, that you don't feel necessarily are your responsibility, but when you look at the landscape, it is your responsibility. And it's more like responsibility by default because you're the only one left who can make that decision. What I'm learning during this phase is regarding decision fatigue is I have to go at my own pace. What I'd like to caution people with friends, family, co-workers, leaders that you report to, oftentimes when someone is going through a series of decisions that are difficult, that are unexpected, that could cause some repercussions later in life, or it could really stick with someone for a long time because they feel like if they don't make what is considered the right decision, it's going to haunt them. So what I would caution you in this respect is listen to the person. If they come to you to talk about it, don't offer your advice as to this is what I would do if I were you. The reason why I say this is because it's very easy to say this is what I would do. But oftentimes, when you're actually faced with the decision and it's right there in your face, what you thought you would do is not necessarily always what you would do. Also, when people say this is what I would do, they only know a portion of the factors that you're dealing with to make that decision. So you're giving advice based on just the information or the intel that you were shared or you were given. You may not know the full picture that that person is drawing from to make these critical decisions. So by you suggesting this is what they should do, or it being what some people would call the next natural thing to do, or the wise thing to do, or the diplomatic thing to do, or as we often say, the right thing to do. What is right in your eyes is not necessarily right in the decision maker's eyes. So be careful when we are so quick to impart our decision onto the decision maker. Now, if they ask you, that's a different story. But if you are not asked, my recommendation is don't volunteer what you would do, because what they're actually asking you to do is to listen to them, is to hold space for them, is to just allow them to vent and share how they're feeling and how this whole situation is impacting them. They're not necessarily coming to you to solve the problem. They're just coming to you because maybe they trust you and they feel that if they share this information, at least it helps them to feel a little bit better because they're saying it out loud before they have to make the final decision. But it doesn't mean that they're asking you to decide, because ultimately it's their decision to make. So decision fatigue is real. And at times when things are heavy and they're critical and they're unexpected, what I've learned during this time is there are days when, if at all possible, don't make a decision that day if you don't have to. If it is not critical for you to make the decision on that particular day, then use that time to rest. Use that time to pray. Use that time to just be free and peaceful and not even think about the thing that you have to make the decisions about. Now, if it is critical, then take your time and do what feels right to you, especially if maybe you're making the decision on behalf of someone else and they're not providing input to you. So you really are going based on either how well you know the person, how well you know the situation, or just because, okay, if this was me, this is what I would want to do, because you don't know what that person would like to do. So give yourself some grace. It's okay to not know. And in those times when you don't know, definitely the time for you to seek God. If you are someone who prays, take the time to pray, take the time to meditate and ask God, show me what to do, show me what to say, show me what to decide, show me what to ask. But don't feel weighted and that the world or the weight of everything is on your shoulders, because you're not alone, because you do have probably an inner circle that you're relying on, or you can rely on. So if you're not relying on that inner circle just to talk out how you feel and to help replenish you and lift you up, then I would recommend that you find you an inner circle, because it is very helpful. And also your connection with God. Pray, pray, and pray. Decision fatigue, it is real. So sometimes when someone asks a simple question as, well, what are we going to eat today? And they ask that question and you turn around and say, I don't know, what do you want to eat? That is like the ultimate, they want to explode, because they are so tired of making decisions. And they thought that this one simple routine decision of what do we eat, someone else could handle it. But when you punt it back over to them, then they're exhausted, they're worn out. And it was just that thought of, can someone else just decide one little thing for me? It might seem trivial to you, but to that person, because you may not know all the things that they're weighted with deciding about, you could really help by saying, let's have burgers today, or let's just go out to eat anywhere today, making that simple decision. So again, remember your decisions, they can be routine, like what do we eat? What do I wear? They can have impact on you directly or on someone else. It could be either your family members or it could be your team. They could be strategic, as in, if I make this decision, then it will open the doors for these things to start happening. It can be tactical, it can be operational, and regardless of who you're leading, if you're just leading yourself, if you're leading a team, if you're leading your family, they can be leadership decisions. And we make decisions every day. So remember, when you make them, it's about who becomes what through the decision. That is what you are deciding. Until next time, keep shining.